Hello, everyone. Good day, good evening, good night, whenever it is that you're watching this thing. Welcome to another stunningly irrelevant episode of Long Tracks and Tall Tales. I am your host, Scott G. Davis from Myth of Logic. Along with me, as always, my good friend and co host, Mr. Christopher M. Clark.
Hello.
And we are fantastic.
Great line. we are.
We're both fantastic. We're just
we
great.
just are. That's just the way it is.
So much to talk about today. The header of today's episode that we're going to discuss at length is, do original members really matter? And that's a topic that's real hot. And we're going to try and cover as much ground with it as we can in a reasonable space. First, we have a few little news programming notes here that we'd like to touch on. There's a bunch of different news coming from the Yes camp.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. To Mr. Steve Howe, first of all, we got a happy birthday, a get well, and a congratulations all going out
all
to Steve.
At once.
Yeah. Steve's birthday was 2 days ago. He is 79 years old on April the 8th. Get well to Steve. Yes has been forced to postpone their UK tour until Steve recovers from what is being called essential surgery.
Okay.
Group was due to embark on an 11-date European tour this month, starting in Glasgow on April the 22nd. And unfortunately, that's having to be postponed. They've had the worst luck in recent years with European tours in particular.
Yeah.
Having to be rescheduled. Also, the congratulations part. Yes, are proud to announce their 24th studio album, Aurora, will be released on June 12th via Inside Out Sony Music. As Steve explains, making this record was, quote, joyful, a chance to play, explore, and give everything to the music. It has always been about collaboration. Somebody can write a song, but until everybody puts their contribution in it, it really isn't a Yes song. We're not trying to echo the past. We're carrying the spirit of Yes forward and turning it into something new, end quote. So fantastic. Lots of things going on in the Yes world. The new song, I've heard it 3 times.
I've heard it once, but I love it.
It's got flavors of several different eras. I'm hearing some Tormato-ish flavors about it. And some maybe even topographic. As much as I'm not fond of that record, it has a flavor. There's a little bit of that to it.
Yeah.
Being the bass player and the aficionado of Chris Squire, I think that Billy plays fantastically on it, but he's mixed back way too far. The one of the best qualities about the best Yes music is that bass guitar leads the way.
Yeah, it does.
That's it. Honestly, after listening through it 3 times, that's the only minor niggle. I would love for his bass to be a little further out, but being a bass player, that's always going to be a niggle for me. Everybody plays fantastically. John Davison, what can you say about that? I think he finally has found his own personal space in Yes music. That's what I'm hearing in this song. I'm hearing a comfort and an ease from his performance that hasn't always been there in the past.
I think that's the thing that's jumping out at me the most in the first listen is how comfortable that performance sounds. I think he's hit his stride with it. He's figured out where he fits in it. And it's marvelous. I absolutely love the song. It blew by in a flash. I was sitting there listening to it before I know it, it's over. And I'm like, what? It's over? I mean, I was just so mesmerized by it. And I have not cared too much for the more recent Yes albums. I don't hate them, but I haven't cared too much for them. This one, if this is anything like Aurora, this is going to be amazing.
Yeah, I agree. If this is an indicator of where they're going, I approve. And I like Mirror to the Sky. I like that album. There's a lot to recommend it.
They're not.
They have not been doing their best work, but they have been doing solid work and very replayable work. So
very quickly, while I'm thinking about it, in the news items, I would like for us to give a special shout out to Charlie Bramald. Everybody knows him probably best of his work with Ghost and the Machine. He has had to step away from his duties as a actually it's not duties, his joy of singing as the front man for that band, and just step away from singing in general because he's had some health issues with his jaw. And I saw a pretty heartwarming and heartbreaking post from him on Facebook about it. And just want to, that dude is amazing. He's a great singer. He's a great person.
Yes, he
Helped
is.
me on a personal level when I was buying some Nova Cascade records and was having trouble getting them over here. He stepped in personally and was helping get that facilitated for me. Just a fantastic chap all around. And I know he's making the right decision for him. And you know it's the right decision because it's the most difficult one and the one he didn't want to make. So I love you, man, and think you're fantastic, and I hope you come back and are able to sing again sometime in the future. But my thoughts, and so is Scott's thoughts, our thoughts are with you. And
absolutely right. Yeah,
God
Charlie's a great dude. When I was looking for ways to promote the last Myth of Logic record, I came across On Claire over at Bad Dog, and I was kind of on the fence about it, and Charlie sort of talked me into it. He had some peripheral experience with her and was very encouraging and gave me great viewpoints on the way she does business.
Yeah.
And I have been very grateful for that. So Charlie, if you happen to be watching this, our thoughts are with you. Mm-hmm. You will sing again. I have no doubt of it. I can't imagine that he would be gifted with that voice and not be able to do it again.
Yeah,
so
it's golden.
yeah.
We can't lose it forever. So get well, be well, and get yourself back to where you can do what you're best at. And we'll be waiting for your return. So yeah, I wanted to make sure we shouted out to that.
Yep. Thank you for that, Chris.
Yeah, no problem.
Also, we've got some Pink Floyd news, several things. They've announced a new compilation album, collection of songs entitled 8 Tracks. Features songs recorded between 71 and 79, includes tracks from Metal, Obscured by Clouds, Dark Side of the Moon, Wish You Were Here, and The Wall. Most notably, the album includes the legendary extended version of the Animals track, Pigs on the Wing, previously available only on the 8-track cartridge version of the original album.
Interesting.
I'm glad it's coming out, but really, it should have been on this. It should have been on the remix. But yeah, anyway.
Well, better late than never.
yeah, I'm all right, and I do like the remixed version of it. So, let's see here. According to a press statement announcing the album, 8 Tracks is, quote, a starting point for new listeners to discover the depth and breadth of Pink Floyd's peerless album catalog, as well as a carefully curated collection for longtime fans to appreciate.
Yeah.
In true Floyd tradition, the track list has been edited by Mr. Steven Wilson, who else, to provide fans with a continuous listening experience using sound effects taken from the original multi-track recordings. 8 tracks will be released via Sony Music on July 5th on CD and vinyl, and is available for pre-order now, as well as, we neglected to mention, the new Yes album is also available for pre-order everywhere you pre-order things.
Yeah.
This album is the latest in a long line of Floyd compilations, which include Relics, released in the build-up to Metal. 1981's a collection of great dance songs, which included a completely re-recorded version of Money. And last month, the band announced the release of a new live album, live from the Los Angeles Sports Arena, April 26, 75. Also, a compilation they had out was this one, Echoes, which is, I don't have as much of an affinity for their early stuff as I do the post Barrett era. So some of that stuff doesn't land with me, but I really like the crossfading of disparate tracks, the way they did that. So I'm kind of looking forward to this. This is going to be interesting, I think.
Yeah, you and I are of the same mind about their time periods. I'm not a big fan of the Barrett stuff as much as I am when they are moved forward from that. I did say when I looked at the track list, I thought before you even read that, and before I thought, well, this will be a good jumping off point for people who've never heard them before. It would be a good album to give them to say, here, listen to this. This is a pretty good cross section of what, if you want to hear what they sound like. This is a good,
I agree,
selection of it. Yeah,
absolutely. Well, and Pink Floyd, of course, will be part of our discussion here about whether original members really matter. Pink Floyd being one of those bands that went on to make albums and sell out arenas without several original members.
Yep.
At a certain point. So,
yeah, this is a really hot topic right now with bands like Kansas that are, and Styx, Rush. I mean, yeah, I mean, it's a hot topic right now.
Pink Floyd, yes. Genesis, King Crimson, Dream Theater, Kansas. In other branches of the music business, Quiet Riot is out there playing gigs without any original members. Napalm Death, no original members. Motorhead had a dozen or so players in there. What, Black Sabbath? The list of people in and out of Black Sabbath over the years is lengthy. Judas Priest, the Temptations, and the Four Tops.
Mm-hmm.
The Temptations at various points in their history as an organization, they've had up to 3 different Temptation groups out there on the road playing, but performing the music to a standard. And I think I think there are several. When you talk about original members, what you have to remember is that we are talking about, at its heart, we're talking about rock music, which is still in its infancy. It's less than 70 years old, even if you take it back to its very most beginning roots. So it's still a very new thing. And we are reaching the time where the music is going to outlive the people who first played it and created it and recorded it. That was gonna happen, and there's no way around that. Music is forever. Humans are temporary. That's something that we all have to come to grips with as music fans. One of the appeals of music, at least for me, I think personally, and probably for you as well, Chris, is that sense of joy and immortality. You feel so powerful, and you feel immortal to a certain extent. Well, and Neil mentions that in a lyric, we're only immortal for a limited time. Right. And I think it speaks to that perspective. What we need to remember, is it about the music, or is it about a listener's selfish insistence on an unreasonable and unrealistic status quo? That's where it has to be defined, I think. Now,
that's an interesting phrase you just stated there. I would love to hear you expound upon what you think that phrase means.
I think it really has to do with hero worship at its core, because these people are, in the case of being a Rush fan is a little different than being a fan of a lot of other bands, because for the middle 95% of that band's history, it's been the same 3 guys.
Yes.
And when we grew up, you and I both, listening to that music and getting to know these men as people and as friends and as family to one another, you use that as a role model, and we tend to put those people on pedestals, but they are only human, and reinforced by the fact that they get old and they die. Using Yes as another example, veering back to Yes, I have heard and been party to, unfortunately, some very virulent arguments about the phrase "no Anderson, no Yes." I think that is one of the most ridiculous things I've ever heard. John Davison does a perfectly wonderful job, and John Anderson is continuing to do a wonderful job, although they are tuning down a little bit. John gets away with it, though, because the texture of his voice, you would never know that they're playing in lower keys, but they are. Right. Doesn't really matter. The point is, we as fans of Yes, and I am a fan of Yes, we are so spoiled right now. We sound like a bunch of squealing children. We truly are spoiled. We have 2 world-class, exceptionally talented aggregations of musicians playing those pieces with power and passion and authority and confidence. Both combinations, both the band geeks with John and the official Yes with Steve Howe in charge, they're both exceptional. They really are, and there's a legitimacy to both of them as long as the music is played convincingly. You mentioned Kansas earlier.
Yeah.
That's another good example, because the current touring version of Kansas contains no one from the original band, but they play with such power and such confidence and such respect. That's a key word: respect to the original intent and the original passion of that music. Joe Denenzon, I want to single him out because he absolutely captures Robbie Steinhardt's spirit, not just the notes. And it's not like Ragsdale was an inferior violinist, because he wasn't. But Robbie had an abandon about how he attacked his notes and the melodies that he played, and Joe captures that perfectly.
Yeah.
The drummer who's playing with them now, do you remember his name, Chris? I meant to look it up and
It's
I forgot.
Eric something, and
he is spectacular.
He is. He has spent his life as the drum tech for Phil Ehart. He knows all the parts. He knows how Phil plays. When you watch him play, you could be watching Phil, and you certainly.
I thought it was Phil.
Yeah, if you listen to it and don't see it, you won't know the difference.
I thought, Phil got a haircut. No, it wasn't Phil.
No, he plays it exactly right, exactly like Phil does. And
I think personally that it's unrealistic and very selfish for listeners to stand there with their arms folded and say, it must be this. Well, no, it doesn't have. We're talking about music here.
Right.
The music is what's important. If the music is being disrespected by inferior performers or performances, then we have a problem. But I got to tell you, there are plenty of bootleg recordings of a lot of these bands from back in the day when they had all original members, and they don't sound that good. There's occasionally bad playing. There's occasionally bad notes. It doesn't matter. It matters more how the music is delivered. I feel that's my own personal view.
Well, there are two fronts here that I want to discuss real quick. One of them I agree with you wholeheartedly on, happening in the Rush world too. The virulence of no Neil, no Rush. That's just BS. That's just BS. Rush was Rush before Neil. Like you said, 96% of it was Neil. There can be Rush after Neil. There was Rush before Neil. There can be Rush after Neil. Yeah. The music and the two people who have been Rush their entire lives, pushing it forward, makes it Rush. I don't care. And you're talking to a drummer who idolized Neil, who still idolizes Neil. And everybody, I can't tell you, Scott, how many people were like, you're going to the Rush concert? Yeah. Oh, I figured you wouldn't have. You were such a lover of Neil. Then you really don't understand what I feel about music. If that's, I mean, Neil created all that music. Neil being there to play it right now after he's been gone and got sick and died, that is not where the crux of the music is. Yes, he was my hero. Yes, he is who I emulate myself off of when I play, but he moved on and the music is still here. The music he created and the parts he made are still here. So as long as they are still here, and here is the key, and I agree with you, played with precision and played to a standard. As long as they're played to a standard that is acceptable at the professional level, then let Annika play it. Let me play it. Let you play it. Let anyone play it who can do it well, because the music lives on if it doesn't die because we don't stop playing it. And so you're right. Super selfish people who are like, oh, I'm not going to see them. There's no way I'm going to see them if Neil's not there. Well, then you're never going to see Rush again, ever, because Neil's never coming back, So that really bugs me.
For me, there's a flawed presumption and people reveal themselves as being a subscriber to this assumption when they say, oh, well, that's just a tribute band. Well, you say that like it's a bad thing.
Right.
There are some Rush tribute bands. We've discussed them on previous shows. Yeah. There are some Rush tribute bands out there that are stunningly good.
Yes.
Absolutely, positively, stunningly good. So don't say, oh, it's just a tribute band, like that's supposed to be a cut. Because any band, even a band filled with the original members, they are still paying tribute to that music.
Right.
By performing it convincingly and with care and precision. Right. That is the important thing. We have lost sight of that because, like I said, first of all, rock music is a young art. And second of all, we have a vision of it being immortals. And look, the purpose of life on this planet is to end. Everyone is going to die, and it's going to happen to every single one that we're talking about, and to each of us at some point. That is an inevitable part of life. But the music will continue as long as people share music and share the things they love. That music will continue and live on. Why shouldn't someone else carry that tradition forward?
Right.
There are so many cultures in this world who've had music before there was written music and before there were recordings.
Right.
Okay. Yep. But they have carried the traditions of those musics and their cultures forward without any of that. Would you go to see an Aboriginal tribe somewhere in Australia and rag on them because the music they're playing isn't being played by the people who wrote it? Well, those people lived millennia ago.
Yes.
Like I said, I think if I think about it hard enough, and I know you have a thought, don't lose it.
Oh, yeah, I got it.
If I think about it hard enough, it really is the crux of the issue that rock and roll and rock music in its various permutations is a young art still. And we have to come to grips with the fact that there is someday going to be a version of Yes with no original members in it. Steve Howe is 79 years old. Now, this is the one thing. They've managed to replace... Neil Peart has a replacement. I didn't think that was possible.
Neither did I.
Chris Squire has been replaced. I didn't think that was possible. Billy is superb. And Chris's own choice to succeed him, I might add.
Right.
But Steve Howe is a whole other animal. Only one name comes to mind, and that's Guthrie Govan. You have to have a player of surpassing ability and versatility and curiosity. The versatility, superiority, curiosity, those are the things that define someone like Steve Howe. But it's going to happen. Someday, there will be a Yes band with no original members, and I will still pay money to go see that.
Well, here's the thing, though, and here's where I don't know that I agree with this, but I can buy the consternation and the argument, and it's actually not one of substance of the music, but of form. At what point are you allowed to tour as Yes when none of you are Yes? You know what I'm saying? If you are at that point, you are one of the best, if not the best, tribute band, but you are a tribute band if none of you were members of this. So where is the line that allows you to call yourself Yes when not a single one of you is in Yes anymore? And the same thing could be said for, let's say, Rush years down the line has Annika and another couple of guys playing Rush, none of whom are Geddy or Alex or Neil. Well, okay, you're playing Rush. Well, how are you Rush if none of you were Rush? So it's one, like I said, form over substance. The music is still there. I'm not arguing that, and there's plenty of bands that can play. But why? What gives you the right to wear the moniker of the actual band? Is what I guess I'm.
That's a very interesting and a very valid point.
Yeah.
And again, it's something that doesn't have right now at this point in history a clear answer, because again, this is still a young art form,
right?
And so
my argument would be that you really do need to stop calling it the official name of You Are the Band when you don't have a single member left. You can call it something else. You can go as a tribute. You can continue to play the music. If you still have an original member or some member of the band who's been in it to carry it forward, who had the blessing of the other member, the members before, that's a different situation than, well, we're all getting together and we're playing and none of us are original members. That would be my answer to that question right now. That may change. As you said, this is a relatively young issue and art form, and so those things may work themselves out the older we get and the more life goes on. But I mean, that would be my answer, would be you need to at least have one of the original members there that can actually carry the name forward because they started it, if that makes sense.
I think at this point in time, we don't really want to acknowledge it because it seems crass, but it's a business decision. Truly, it is, because if you bill a concert as a certain aggregation plays the music of Kansas.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to sell as many tickets as if you just say Kansas.
That's right. And that's my point. So which of you gets to say we're Kansas?
Well, in the case of the current Kansas band, you have Ronnie Platt, who's been lead vocalist on 2 records. I think that qualifies him.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
He's actually performed with Kansas on a Kansas record.
And in the case of Yes, you have Jeffrey Downs, who first joined the band in 1980, and has been back for a rather long stint. As a matter of fact, I saw an article the other day that stated that Downs has now been in the band longer than Rick Wakeman was, if you factor it out into actual, years that he's been in the band. So he's got a longer term of service than Wakeman. So that on that, using that yardstick, that's legitimacy as far as I'm concerned. But your point is well taken. At what point does it become something else?
Right. At what point does it stop being the band that's the official band?
Well, the answer may be eventually, in a world like the Temptations, where there hasn't been an original Temptations for decades. And there are numerous aggregations out there performing under the name of Temptations. Little different story, because when the Temptations came up, artists didn't write their own music, and artists weren't at the heart of a promotional campaign the way all these bands have been. When Styx were popular, you saw their pictures everywhere.
Yeah.
Posters and albums and whatnot. They were considered one of those faceless corporate bands, but I'm here to tell you, their pictures were everywhere. Everybody knew who Tommy Shaw was. Everyone knew who Dennis DeYoung was. So I think that's part of what we're reacting to now, because the companies who are promoting this stuff, whether it's record companies, management, or the artists themselves, that sort of thing is running out. The clock is ticking on that stuff. Eventually, they're going to have to figure out a way to sell it to the public, to say, okay, here's a lineup of Kansas, for instance, or Journey, for instance, which they're retiring, so that's not really a good example. A few years back, Neil actually did, I can't remember what they were calling it, but they assembled an aggregation of Journey with Greg Raleigh and Dean Castronova and a couple other people, and called it something else. And they went out and played exclusively old Journey stuff, pre-Steve Perry stuff. I don't recall exactly what it was called, but I mean, some artists are going to go forward that way.
And here's the thing, and to your point though, did they sell arenas like they would as Journey? No, they did not. I'm sure they
played small places.
Yeah, I didn't even know that happened until you just said that. So there's definite, and it's what you said. It's a business decision, and like it's like, for example, the Rush thing. They apparently, Getty and Alex spun their wheels for a good while trying to figure out, should we call this something else, and then realized, probably for a personal reason, why the hell should we are Rush, which is correct. But B, can you imagine that they would have had the response and be on the front of Prog magazine, which they're about to be, maybe came out today, I think it did, or next week, I can't remember, but they're on the front. Can you imagine that would have been the case if they hadn't announced it as we're coming back as Rush? Probably not. You would have, that name carries a weight.
I think some of what feeds into what you're talking about is the concerted lack of new artists coming up to take the places of those old artists.
Yeah.
The reason why the old artists are, it's the same reason why Hollywood seemingly has so much trouble coming up with original story ideas for movies, because they're so screamingly expensive to make that it has to be a guaranteed moneymaker. That's why all these so-called legacy bands are still out there, because, a Foreigner is getting ready to go out on the road with absolutely not one original member.
Yeah.
Not one. But I saw them, with Kelly Hansen a few years back, and I'm here to tell you, they were fantastic. Anyway,
you can carry the banner of a band, and in some cases do it better than the band did. You can, and I understand that. I just, to me, there's a disingenuity to calling yourself something officially if none of you are official, or and I'm not saying that you shouldn't go out and pay homage and do what you do. We have a bunch of tribute Rush bands that do it phenomenally well.
Yeah.
Phenomenally well. And I love it. And I want to go to every one of those, but they're not Rush. And they don't build themselves as Rush. They build themselves as a tribute to Rush.
Right.
And so I guess that's just the main line here. Do the musicians really original musicians really matter to the music? No, because they've already created the music. The music's there.
I think the clear delineation amongst fans is those that are fans of the music and those that are fans of the musicians. There's no reason for someone to hate the new version of Kansas because they think Ronnie Platt is a lousy singer, because he's not. He's a fantastic singer. Well,
and a lot of this has to do with longevity. There are bands that this band right here, Death. Okay. Death, Chuck Schuldiner, when he got tired of the revolving door of, you're leaving, now you're coming, now you're going, his last 3 albums had different players on almost all of them. So when you have no continuity with your band, then you're not really upset when they got a new drummer. Well, okay, well, they had a drummer a year ago that was Gene Hoglan, and now it's Richard Christie, but you got Neil. He was the drummer for 40 years. I mean, there's a big deal with the attachment to a band because of their longevity, because of how long they remained as a unit. I think that has a lot to do with it, Sure. But I still agree with you 1,000% that what is the most important thing in all of that is the music. And if the music is there and it can be performed with precision and with care and done to a standard that Rush would have said, or any band, yes, or any of them, or Kansas, this is good. This is what we're okay with this. Then that should be good enough for you, because you're there to listen to the music. Right. That's what, if you're doing it right, that's what you fell in love with. You fell in love with the music, So yeah, this is a fascinating time to be living though, because we are in that cruxful time here where older musicians are starting to pass away. And what do we do with the fact that, the people that are remaining want to continue to perform the music and go and do the music, but they can't do it with the original members. That's really hard for some people. I mean, as well as I do, there's a bunch of Rush fans that are not going to see them because Neil's not in the band. So I'm not going. You can just, no,
I'm not going, but it's not because Neil's not.
You have a different reason.
Yeah, I have a different reason.
Your reason's a valid reason.
Well, honestly, we do not have unlimited funds available to us. And when I do Mythologic records, the vast majority of money I can lay my hands on gets poured into those records. And so I have to keep my eyes on the prize there. And, sure. Dropping $2,000 on a concert is, it's just not, it's outside the possibilities for me. Look, as I've said before, Rush never fails to put out an absolutely stupendous home video package from everything they do. Right. So I'll be right there on opening on the first day it's available. I'll get my Blu-ray and I'll sit in my living room and enjoy the show. But I just feel like, I don't know, it might even be a symptom of the lack of civility overall in this country, that people just, the internet has emboldened folks to the point where they feel like they can just complain about anything that bothers them.
Yes, the keyboard warrior.
Yeah, focus here, folks. Focus, okay? It's music. And as long as the music is presented in a convincing way, in a powerful way that touches you, it doesn't matter who is playing it. Certainly it might mean more to you personally to see your hero play that music. I've always been very emotional over the many times I've seen Yes, and I saw them a bunch. I was always overcome with emotion being in the room with Steve Howe and being in the room with Chris Squire and being in the room with John Anderson. Mm-hmm. Let me tell you a story about Yes in particular. The first time I took my lovely wife, Angie, who likes prog, she does listen to it. I took her to see Yes. John Davison was the singer. It was one of John's earlier tours. Chris was still alive. And it really chokes me up to talk about this because it was so, I love my wife dearly. I love her more than life itself. And we went to the show, and I think she was kind of humoring me a little bit. She's more at that point. She was more acquainted with Kansas and Rush than she was with Yes. So there was a lot of it she didn't know. And they played close to the edge. And when they got to that middle section with the pipe organs and the vocal all by itself, and it soars, and John Davison, Wano, bless him, he just nailed those parts. And I looked over at my wife, and there were tears streaming down her cheeks.
Nice.
That is what I'm talking about. Someone being touched by the power of that composition. The composition is the thing. That's what's vital to the music that we love, the prog that we love. The composition is the key. And whether or not the player means it when they play it or when they sing it. It was a very emotional moment for me personally, and obviously for my wife. That's exactly the response that I would want for somebody who's hearing Close to the Edge for the first time.
Right.
That I get up, I get down, I get up, get down.
Now,
that moment right there, that high note, that's what produced that response from her.
And this brings around the crux of the matter. You're dealing with someone who didn't really know them very well, isn't tied emotionally to any of the players, and that's not what she was reacting to. She wasn't reacting to who was singing it. She was reacting to it being sung in that way. And so I also think that the problem that we're having now is a temporary problem. I do, because we are aging too, and the group that really cares and virulently and destructively so, in my opinion, about I'm not going to see them. But we're getting older too, and they're going to get to where they don't matter, and a newer group of people is going to come up who maybe don't care about this so much,
And when that does happen, you're absolutely right. That's an angle I hadn't thought of. When that does finally happen, and it will, you probably still will see a group of players get together under the Yes banner. Who had nothing to do with the original band, and go out there and play that music to fans who kind of don't care.
And that's it. You'll have a group that doesn't go, well, you weren't Yes. I mean, they won't even know. They'll be like, Dad, that music is gorgeous. Who is that? Oh, it's Yes from the 70s and da-da-da-da-da-da. And they learn to love and live in that moment with the music, and who cares who wrote it, Like you said, and you said it so wonderfully, the music can be considered immortal. We are temporary. We are temporary here. And so that's very, very important and very germane to this conversation and this discussion of this issue, because I really think that in the grand scheme of life, this issue is pretty temporary. Anyone who would have been like, well, I'm not going to see the Beethoven's symphony played by someone when Beethoven is not conducting it. Those people who might have done that back then, they're gone now. So we go hear Beethoven, and we don't care, that Beethoven, we know Beethoven's not there, doing it. And it's just, that's a funny and a little bit of a ridiculous comparison, but it brings the point home that anyone who would have been mad about that back in the day, they're not even here anymore to be mad about that. And we don't care, because it's so far removed from the time. All we care about is, God, that's a lovely piece of music. God, that sounds great. And, and so I think this is a temporary issue, but it is a very prescient issue right now, because we have a particularly large group of bands that are starting to go through this, where they've lost their members. And
it's probably not as big a deal as it feels at the present time. The internet tends to make issues that concern anyone feel more vital and more urgent than they actually are.
It's also probably not as big a deal to other genres as it is to our genre.
Oh, I'd say that.
For some reason, the prog genre is full of people we know all of the members of the bands.
I'll give you some example. Molly Hatchet and Leonard Skinner. Their original members of Molly Hatchet are by and large passed on.
Yeah.
But there is a Molly Hatchet out there playing Molly Hatchet songs and, selling tickets. Leonard Skinner, hasn't been what anyone would call the classic lineup for many, many years. They're still out there.
That's right.
Delivering the goods, doing what they have to. You just saw Styx recently.
Yes.
God bless him. James Young is the last original guy still in the band. He's still doing it. Tommy Shaw was not an original member.
No, he was not. He's been there for a long, long time, but he was not an original member.
They made 4 albums before him, I believe, was it? 4, so. Yeah. Kurlewski was the guy's name, the guitarist.
But even there shows you, you'll have people who will argue, well, if it doesn't have Tommy Shaw, well, the first 4 didn't have Tommy Shaw.
Yeah.
So what are you griping about? What you care about is the music, not the people.
Yeah.
And then you got to get people out of that mindset. All that matters is the people. All that matters is that it's Geddy, Alex, and Neil. No, it's not. It's the music that they made, which is why, you can go see great Rush tribute bands because they're paying homage to the great music, and if they play it well, and they do, lots of them
they do.
Then you should be in heaven. You should be in heaven. And it shouldn't matter that it's not Geddy, Alex, and Neil in front of you. It is a group of people who play to a standard and they're playing the music you love. That's all that should matter.
I think the folks that are complaining are kind of, I always like to say, if you complain without offering a solution, there's a word for that: whining. They sound like they're whining. It's like, okay, we have 2 wonderful versions of Yes out there. What are you whining about? Because they both kill. They both kill it. And
I could understand if you were like,
we're the winners, the fans, us, we are the winners.
Right. I could understand if you were like, okay, here's some bands out there and they're claiming they're Kansas and they sound awful. I mean, I could understand being like, then why are you under that moniker? But that's not what happens. It's done with excellence or it's not done. You don't go out on the road as Kansas if you don't sound like Kansas. You don't. And so, I'm with you. You're just whining and moaning about things that to whine.
Well, in the case of Kansas, Phil Ahart has been involved in the management of that band for quite some time. So as long as Phil is steering the ship, and I know Richard is still involved behind the scenes, Phil has such high standards personally and professionally.
Sure.
He would not allow a substandard version of that.
He'd say, you're not going out with the Kansas moniker if you sound like mediocre. It isn't happening.
I want to tell everybody, watching and listening right now, if you for some reason have denied yourself going to see Kansas as they are right now, because you have some misguided formation in your mind about no original members, you are cheating yourself.
You sure are.
That group of gentlemen plays that music with respect and power and accuracy and plenty of passion.
So good. They are so good live.
Yeah. Now here. This is something I wanted to bring up as well. Emerson, Lake, and Palmer. God bless Carl Palmer. He is out there providing a service to people who want it. But honestly, he's billing it as an evening with Emerson, Lake, and Palmer, when in actuality, it's an evening with video of Emerson and Lake and Palmer live. Now, I realize I'm picking nits, and I realize that's a business decision designed to sell tickets. And the show that they are putting on, he and his 2 compatriots in that band, whose names are escape, they are fantastic. They have a whole new take on the music they do, and it's so cool. And it's Carl Palmer. Carl can do whatever he wants to.
Right.
No one should care what I think.
But perhaps you could bill that as Palmer plays an evening of
Palmer plays ELP. Yes. But they have marketed. That's what circles me around back to what we were saying about it. I think it's less an artistic decision than it is a marketing decision.
Well, of course it is.
Yeah.
The dollar,
and that's unfortunate.
That is, but the dollar is the guiding factor in all of this. Why do you think you're not going to see Rush as prices currently stand right now? Because it's gosh dang ridiculous to try to get a ticket at that price.
Yeah,
that's the money is driving it. The demand is driving it. That's just business. Business is what business is. It's always been that way. Right. And so you're right. That has a lot to do with it. But the bottom line of it is, do original members really matter really, really and truly deeply at the very end? Yes, to the creation of the music. no to its existence and survival in the touring world and in the future as it goes forward, as the music speaks for itself and does for itself. Yeah, so that would be my answer to that question.
I agree, and not only should we be thankful for the musicians who are out there playing, we should be thankful because we've still got these guys. We've still got the original recordings with those original. If you are that vehemently and violently and emotionally unstable about non-original members out there delivering the music, then by all means stay home.
That's right.
And listen
Give that
to the
ticket
records.
to somebody else who will use it, you know?
Yeah, listen to the records if you want those. To me, when I go see a live performance, some of my favorite artists are people like Pat Metheny, for instance, who almost never plays a piece the same way it was played.
Right.
He's constantly evolving and pushing boundaries and doing things like that. Now, that doesn't work for every artist, obviously, but I do appreciate that. Sting does that a lot. Sting puts on absolutely fantastic show, and all of his arrangements are different. He'll change things up, and he expects that people are going to want to hear the songs they love, but with just a little bit of a different arrangement to them or slightly different instrumentation.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, you just sit home and listen to the records.
Yeah.
So there's all that to be concerned
well, and then
about
that's the bottom line of it is, if all that, like you said, I agree with you 100%. If all that bothers you, put on a Rush record, put on a Yes record, put on an old Canvas record. Listen to them. Listen to them in their element. Listen to them with the guys and girls that you want to be playing it, because it's there for you.
Yeah.
But in enjoying that, in the process of enjoying that, realize you could be enjoying that live if you just get over that hump of realizing, well, it doesn't really matter who plays it. If it sounds like that, then I want to hear it live. It's fine.
I agree. If you have that attitude, you are only hurting yourself.
Correct.
And so sit there and be hurt.
No. I mean, it doesn't hurt me. I'll go to the concert. I don't have to have you sitting next to me to go to it. Well, that's the way that goes.
Absolutely right.
Well, fascinating conversation.
I think we've covered a lot of good ground here, and hopefully, folks, if you don't know us by now, and maybe you don't, I don't know, maybe this is the first episode.
Shame on you if you don't know us by now. I mean, we are internet famous in a tiny.
We are the number 63 progressive rock channel on YouTube.
Just
we have to try here. We have to try harder because no one knows who we are.
No one knows. No one knows. You can't find us because we're too small to be found unless you have a microscope.
What I was going to say before we teetered off into that diversion is that we do try to keep things on a very positive note here. We welcome people to comment and share their viewpoints. If you get nasty, if you get, personal, if you get salty with me, I'm going to zap you. That's just the way it is. This is not a free speech zone. This is a me speech zone.
We do say, if you have a disagreement with us and you want to bring it up in a civil and respectful way,
please do
it. I'll gladly involve it and talk to you about it and share our viewpoints, and maybe we agree to disagree, but we don't do it uncivilly. And we don't do it rudely.
Please be nice. Please be nice. There's always time to be nice. That's
correct.
So I think to sum up, lots of things going on in the news this week. I think we're both in agreement that original members don't really matter that much.
Really.
They only matter to those who've decided they want to be upset about it, and that's fine. That's a perfectly valid viewpoint. And I have to say, I certainly understand when somebody says no Anderson, no yes. I completely understand.
I understand the people who say no Neil, no Rush. I don't agree with you, but you're entitled to think that. That's
of
fine.
Course.
Yeah. That's how
so
you want to be, then that's okay. Yeah.
We've decided to be happy.
We choose happiness, ladies and gentlemen,
because we are
entitled to your erroneous opinion.
Yeah, there you go. In spite of the fact
you are entitled to your erroneous opinion, and we shall have the truth on our side.
Oh shit. Oh man, that's too funny. Well, hopefully all this madness and insanity and frivolity has not set you off liking and subscribing and all that other sort of jazz. If you want to, we'd love to have you here. Like to send a thanks out to everybody who tuned in and watched our last video about the Rush Juno Awards. For some reason, it's got like 2,300 views.
Got a good response from it, and a lot of clicks and views on it.
Have no idea why that happened, but it ain't
because of us. I'll tell you that right now. There were two faces made for radio. You're looking at them.
Oh, shoot. Anyways, that's all we got time for today. On behalf of my good friend Christopher M. Clark, Chris, it was a hoot and a holler. You can find us anywhere you look on the internet. We are smearing our effluence everywhere that you can possibly imagine. All of the places you doom scroll and hurl epithets at one another, your Facebooks, your Instagrams, all of that stuff. Seek us out. Myth of Logic. We are, by the way, hard at work on the next Myth of Logic record due out next year, 27. And we're very excited about it.
Also, really quickly, if y'all, I've done this thing now for a year. I started this year, and I've been doing it every day. Album of the day. You can find me on Facebook. Just look me up, Chris Clark. I do a different prog album every day, and so far in this year, I have not missed a day. I am really, really, really going to try hard not to miss a day all year long, where I give y'all one new album, or one, it's not new, but just any album from my massive collection for, just for everybody to look at and listen to. And it's going rather well. So if you want to find me on there and click on there, I invite you to come and talk to me and tell me whether you like it, whether you don't. Doesn't matter to me. There's going to be a lot of it probably some people don't like, but that's okay. That's all about what prog is all about. It's different. So anyway, you can find me on Facebook. I'm doing that daily. So
I've been enjoying it. I've learned a lot, not just about music, but a lot about you. You posted some things and I went, whoa, I didn't expect that.
I have some pretty eclectic tastes that people don't really realize. It's okay.
Well, you're just that kind of guy, aren't you?
I am. Kind of odd. It's okay.
All right. So anyway, on behalf of us here at Myth of Logic, thank you for tuning in. And until we're together again, be good to one another.